Does eating organic lower your risk of cancer? Or is it just a marketing tactic? In this video, I'm showing you exactly what you need to know about organic food and if it will actually lower your risk of cancer. There are lots and lots of opinions online about organic food. It's completely overwhelming. So what's the truth? Should you be eating organic? If you're a cancer survivor, or maybe you're just trying to lower your risk of cancer, then this video is for you. When you look at organic produce, it's easy to see that it's more expensive, period. With the cost of groceries skyrocketing over the last several years, it's a definite investment to choose to eat organic. And some people just do not have access to organic produce. They live in small communities, there might be 1 or 2 grocery stores, and the organic produce is just limited or non-existent. It's not always as easy as simply just choosing to eat organic. But what does this mean for your risk of cancer? Should you really be making the effort to eat organic to lower your risk of cancer? Is making this change and investment really gonna make a difference? A breast cancer survivor that I work with in the Cancer Freedom Program, she really struggled with eating conventional produce. She had heard online that eating organic would lower her risk of cancer. But the problem is that she lived in a smaller city. The organic produce selection was very limited, and what was there was almost always on the verge of expiring. It was just not gonna work for her to eat organic. This caused her to be really stressed out, and here is exactly how I helped her navigate. Here's exactly what you need to know about picking between organic and non-organic or conventional produce. Now, organic farmers, they need to follow strict regulations on the use of synthetic pesticides. Of course, we worry about occupational exposure to pesticides. As farmers or farm workers, you don't want repeated exposure to pesticides over time. But this leads people to believe that foods that have been exposed to pesticides in the past, well, they'll actually increase your risk of cancer as well. And while anyone is welcome to have an opinion on the consumption of organic or conventional produce, in this YouTube channel, I focus on science-backed evidence. And here, we're gonna dive in to the real hard evidence behind organic produce and cancer risk. Because it's fine to have an opinion on something, but science is not an opinion, it's fact. And that is how I really start to build confidence for women in the Cancer Freedom Program. When you know the science behind different food myths and your cancer risk, then you can understand the truth and feel confident making a choice for yourself. Once you know the facts, then you can feel confident making a decision and which path you should take. So let's see what we currently know about organic produce and the risk of cancer. First, organic produce does still use pesticides. The difference between organic and conventional produce is that organic produce is exposed to natural pesticides and may still have exposure to synthetic pesticides from neighboring farms. But as with everything in terms of your cancer risk, the dose matters. The Environmental Protection Agency, also known as the EPA, they have a standard in terms of how much pesticides can be used on produce. The amount of pesticides that's used on conventional produce is well below that standard that's determined safe as by the EPA, which means the amount of pesticides that you need to be exposed to really increase your risk of cancer is far higher than what you'll ever be exposed to from eating conventional produce. And when we think about organic produce, we often think that it's safe, it's natural, but that's not always the case. Natural pesticides can also be quite toxic to humans, but again, the dose matters. So organic does not automatically equal good, and conventional does not automatically equal bad. Okay, so how do you know what produce is safe for you and what produce is not safe for you? Let's take a deeper look. This study came out in 2023 and it looked at over 40,000 people and followed them for 15 years. Now, this is a lot of people followed over a really long period of time. This study was published in the European Journal of Epidemiology. Now, some people will say that epidemiological evidence is not useful in terms of determining what food is healthy or unhealthy. But ethically, epidemiological evidence is one of the best ways to follow large groups of people and to find trends in terms of what's healthy and what's unhealthy. It's also one of the only forms of evidence we have to review food exposure. So long story short, it's not perfect, but it's all we got. Now, the people in this study recorded organic food consumption from produce, eggs, dairy, and meat. When we look at the results, they found that people who ate organic food did not have a lower risk of cancer. There was no difference Whether you ate organic food or conventional food, your risk was the same. Okay, but that's just one study. Yes, it was a large group of people, and yes, they followed them over a very long period of time, which makes all of this very convincing, but it was just one study. So what about the Nutrinet Santé study that was published in 2018? Now, this was a prospective cohort study that asked study participants to fill out a questionnaire on their organic food consumption. They filled out this questionnaire 2 months after their enrollment into the study. Now, their findings showed that those people who ate organic food more frequently had a lower risk of cancer. Now, this has some supporters of organic food really excited, but let's look a little deeper. The Nutrinet Santé study is a massive study that's published in numerous areas over several years. Because of the high profile, there are many experts that are willing to give their opinion on these studies. Now, one study that was published in JAMA Internal Medicine, which is a highly reputable journal, really offered a criticism of how the Nutrinet Santé study actually collected this information on organic food consumption. In the study, they simply asked people, hey, do you eat organic? And people do tend to lie a little bit about their health behaviors. I'm sure you've been in a position where you've gone to the doctor and they've asked, how many alcoholic drinks do you have a week? And the number you say is a little bit lower than what's probably accurate. The same thing would happen if someone asked me how many times a week I exercise. Maybe I exercise 3 times a week, but hey, I might as well throw in a couple more times just to make it look better. Well, we all do this, and it's okay, but it's not a validated way to collect study information. Now, another criticism of the Nutrinet Santé study is that they also assessed a dietary quality. They gave study participants a score on the quality of their food. What the study actually found was those people who were eating a higher quality food, they actually had a higher risk of cancer. That makes no sense. If you eat higher quality food, then your risk of cancer should be lower. But that's not what the study found, and it really contradicts common sense. Okay, but let's look at one last study, and this one can be the tiebreaker, because we have one study that says organic food lowers your risk of cancer, and another study that says it makes no difference. And this next study is the biggest of them all. This study was published in the British Journal of Cancer, and it specifically looked at middle-aged women in the UK. They were looking at their cancer risk in association with organic food. Their study looked at a whopping 600,000 women, a very large study population. They followed them for over 9 years. Again, quite a long time. They found that eating organic does not lower your risk of cancer. The only caveat to this study is that they found that it does lower the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, so there you have it. Eating organic has not been shown to lower the risk of cancer. So if you're a cancer survivor, or if you're just at a high risk of developing cancer, then eating organic produce is not going to lower your risk. Now, like I said, you can have an opinion about whether you want to eat organic or not. Maybe you think that it just tastes better, or maybe you like the more vibrant colors, or maybe you just want to take a chance that it might lower your risk of cancer, but we just haven't found the scientific evidence to prove that. But when we look at the science, the hard facts, organic produce does not lower your risk of cancer. Now, another thing to consider is that a lot of people will assume that something is healthier if it's labeled organic. The packaged or processed foods are not healthier because they're labeled organic. Packaged and processed foods are still unhealthy, regardless of the amount of pesticides used or not. It's unfortunate that some people have a really false sense of security thinking something is healthier because it's labeled organic. So what about that breast cancer survivor I work with in the Cancer Freedom Program? You know, the one that was terrified to eat conventional produce, but she also didn't have access to organic produce? How is she feeling now? What is she doing? Well, this breast cancer survivor has shifted her focus and changed her habits that have been shown and proven to lower her risk of a breast cancer recurrence. Knowing that organic food has no clear evidence to actually lower her risk of recurrence, she now focuses her energy on using science-backed strategies. For her, that's targeted exercise. We know that we can lower your risk of a cancer recurrence by 59% through targeted exercise alone. That's exactly why I'm linking up this next video here on targeted exercise for cancer survivors. Click the link here. I'll see you in the next video.